Hey Rays and Vibrations community, Simon today, and I've got another video for you that I feel really motivated to talk about, and I think I'm just going to get straight to the point with this one over here. Um, I've been noticing around me and including in myself as well that this Venus retrograde energy in Scorpio and how Mercury has just entered Scorpio, that this energy right now is really, really tough. And we're facing a lot of big emotions that are coming to the surface. And with Mars in Aquarius at the moment, squaring Venus, and also the Uranus opposition, in other words, Venus in opposition to Uranus, that's retrograde, there's a lot of energy at the moment that is pushing a great deal of evolution. And this is depending on how you see it and depending on how you're experiencing it, just very intense, but also very liberating. So in the new moon video that I'd recently released, I talked a little bit about the essential needs and how we can take advantage of this time to really get clear on what is essential for us and what is not. And I wanted to take this opportunity to share a personal story of my own and also share with you what this video is also encouraging you to see and to look at, and to take advantage of what I've been able to take advantage of in my own personal life. So in my personal astrology chart, I have Venus squaring the nodes. Okay, so just like right now, we've all got Venus squaring the nodes. I have that natally in my chart. And this energy is going to be with me for the rest of my life, right? And when you have a planet squaring the node, there's some type of work that you have to be doing and concentrating on a lot in order to resolve a deeper emotional and psychological complex that you carry in your soul's journey. Okay, and it's not really spoken about a lot in the sort of general astrology language. But in EA, when we look at squares the nodes, we take it seriously because it is something that is trying to be looked at in this lifetime. And in my case, it's actually something that's like at a critical degree. My nodes and Venus are exactly at 16 degrees. So this is a lifetime where I'm definitely having to focus a lot on those themes. And one of the ways that it showed up for me when I discovered EA was being able to really grasp the emotional and psychological complex that actually is associated with this symbolism. And it has a lot to do with, for me personally, it has a lot to do with how am I trying to resolve getting connected with my own personal needs through many lifetimes of just being deeply like sacrificing my own needs, not really knowing how to validate them, having a crisis around how I can empower my own personal needs, right? So through really understanding this formula that I want to share with you today, there's an actual formula that can help you actually understand how your soul comes into this lifetime and wants to help itself get the needs that it needs in order to continue its evolution, in order to actually facilitate the ongoing evolutionary dynamics in the chart. And for me, it's interesting because it's specifically on Venus. In other words, it's this formula works to me specifically because it's my kind of like issue. And there are a lot of people out there that have got that. I'm sure you have, some of you have got Venus squaring the nodes, and you'll resonate with me. It has a lot to do with relating. It has a lot to do with being able to acknowledge your needs and how you can express them in a healthy way. So what it brought me to as I began to become conscious of this type of dynamic in my chart was how we relate as human beings, right? So this is what materialized out of my own work. Was in healing myself, I came to understand this at a very deep level. So what you're actually looking here at the moment is a graph, or not a graph, but a kind of like I don't know what word you could use to describe it. It's the natural zodiac, and it shows the makeup or the base framework of how relationships operate. And the reason why I'm sharing this is because this is an actual extract from a video course that I've just recently recorded that helps people understand and digest not only who you are individually and how you meet a relationship, but also how you can see the essential needs that your soul has come to facilitate in this lifetime, right? And I'll show you in the next diagram the actual way that you can see that, how you can see where you place your karma, how you bring your karma to this reality, and how you express it in a relationship, and how your soul has specifically configured yourself to have needs met so that you're actually growing. And this over here, what I want to share with you right now, is an actual way that you can identify this in your own personal chart. And this video course that I've recently created is going step by step through how this works, right? So when you look at this diagram over here, you're looking at the context of Cancer, Capricorn, which is the top two, and then of course Libra, which is relationships. And I go into this in great depth in the video, and I talk about how each of us has a sense of identity, Cancer, okay? And rooted in that identity is a feeling of security. When we merge with or essentially extend our sense of identity into another person, which is the Libra part, this is where relationships get complicated because we lose ourselves in relationships. Not all the time, but most of you in a relationship have had either swung between being completely codependent or completely isolated and not being emotionally vulnerable and not really opening up. And so there's these two polarities that exist, right? And it's a very, it's a deep thing because there are a tremendous amount of dynamics and complexes that we as human beings bring to relationships that, is the reasons for us behaving in relationships the way that we are. And for me personally, I think one of the biggest reasons is we don't really have a lot of soul awareness, right? We have our personality traits and defense mechanisms, but we don't have soul awareness. And so what this is trying to do, and what EA did for me, is help me become aware of the need to nurture soul awareness so that I can make sense of not only the way I interact with myself, but also with life, and why life brings to me the things it brings to me in order for me to heal through, right? That's the key. So this dynamic between Cancer, which is security, and relationship is this natural square that takes place between Cancer and Libra reveals to us this where we are going to sway from one side to the other, and how when a relationship is formed, right? So now we have the boundary part, the Capricorn part right at the top. When a relationship is formed, it's based on a sort of bargain and a need-based reality where both of you for the first sort of like 3 to 6 months are in a maybe 3 months or so in a honeymoon phase, which is what this next slide will teach you, is that there's an actual reason why there's a honeymoon phase, but then why there is confrontations that can materialize, and how those confrontations work and why those confrontations are there. So you can even read that in the birth chart as well, specific to you. The boundary part that I'm talking about at the top over there is when we form a relationship, we form it based on this diagram over here. Let me just show you. Let me just get the screen. Okay. It's based on that formula, right? That's how we establish our needs in relationships. And when we look at this is the context, this is the shell of a relationship. There's a boundary that says, I'm comfortable with this, I'm not comfortable with this. And the reason why I'm comfortable or not comfortable is relative to my own internal security patterns. And that's how we form a relationship. It's all about the nature of safety and comfortability and openness and closedness, right? Do you feel safe with the person? Do you not? Do you feel comfortable with the person or not? And then we form this bargain. And then in that bargain is expectations, right? Expectations between the Libra to Capricorn relative to the feeling of security. This is how the dynamic of relationships operate. And in the actual video course itself, I go deeper into it and revealing to you how these materialize. But this is the framework, right? And then when you look at this diagram over here, this is the actual way that you can actually apply this to your own personal chart and say, okay, where is my 12th house, which is the Pisces essence? Where is the second house, which is the Taurus essence? and what is ruling my 11th house, my 7th house, right? And that whole entire way, like if you analyze your 12th house and your second house and your 7th house, can actually give you how your soul has set it up for you to understand what are your unique needs in a relationship, okay? And how those unique needs reflect themselves through your interaction with another person. And you see where I've written the separation path? That's the part where we will come into any form of relationship, whether it be to our cat, to our dog, to our work, to people, to intimate relationships, where we're going to place an emotional expectation and illusion into it in order for the relationship to operate in a way that is from our own subconscious. Meaning that there's an actual way using this formula to be able to see what types of subconscious projections you put into a relationship and how those projections will create a crisis when the other person can't connect with those subconscious projections because they're yours, right? So you can actually see how to where you subconsciously project. You can also see with the personal needs thing how you're here to express the personal needs that are correct for your soul to evolve through. So let me give you an example of what I mean, right? So in the past, we as a collective carry a lot of trauma. We still carry it today. It's not like it's gone. But in the past, we carry a lot of trauma around what patriarchy was. Okay, just as an example, let's just keep it very, very simple here. What patriarchy was, which was a deep repression and suppression of self-expression. It was, these are the laws, these are the regulations, abide by this, and you won't get punished, right? In a very simple way. And so people didn't really know how to connect with their essential needs. And we carry, as a human race, memories of those lifetimes within ourselves that are very sensitive and that are very, very thin to see until you're actually in a trigger or a trauma state and you're feeling the experience within yourself of not feeling heard or not feeling understood or not being able to connect emotionally with another person, or recognizing where there is woundedness taking place because of betrayal, abandonment, or loss. All of these types of things exist within us. And we were never taught this at school. We were never taught that there was a way to relate to life in a way that was healthy by acknowledging what your unique needs are. And we didn't have astrology in this way. So what happens is that we don't really know that when we have Venus in Gemini, or we have Venus in Pisces, or we have Venus in Scorpio, that when we're interacting with another person, if our need for communication and connectivity and to be open to diversity, Venus in Gemini, is not fully understood, then it's easy for us to really get involved in trying to figure ourselves out through self-improvement books, or we get lost in the ideas of what we think our needs are, and we get conditioned, right? So imagine a world, imagine a reality where you walked around and you went, okay, I have Venus in Gemini, and my personal needs in this lifetime are essential. And what is essential for me is connection and communication. It's to talk things out, right? It's an essential need for me. Imagine you had the opportunity to really get connected with that, acknowledge that, and say, okay, in this moment right now, as I'm in this conversation with this person, it's a little bit triggered, I'm feeling sensitive, I'm feeling vulnerable, and I go, not outwardly, patriarchal distortion, and I point my finger at the person and say, you are not doing that for me. You go inwardly and you say, I recognize that this feeling of not being able to share my opinion or communicate something, classic Gemini needs, wasn't acknowledged. I wasn't able to acknowledge that need, right? I wasn't able to fulfill that need. And so therefore I felt any trigger that came along with it. And this is very, very on the surface, okay? But just imagine a way of relating to yourself where you could actually know not only what type of subconscious projection you're placing into a relationship relative to the 12th house, which is here, but also how you could understand what your personal needs were that were not met in that moment. So for me, I have Venus in the 8th house in Virgo. It's squaring the nodes. And of course, when a planet is squaring the nodes with Virgo, it's a Gemini Sagittarius axis. And for me, clarity is essential. but it is also something that I'm learning how to establish in this lifetime. So there's parts of me that can be very Sagittarius, just like in this conversation, and I can communicate with you, and it can be very large. But then there's also an essential need for me to become very zeroed in and specific, which is why if you watch this video, you'll see that I specifically create like a chart with separation and personal needs, so that when you're actually digesting information from me, right, Sagittarius, you're able to, in some way, grasp what it is that I'm talking about, so that I can feel like I can, not I can feel, but I know that I'm able to communicate and create connection, because that's the issue. It's like, how do I create a connection with another in a way that I can feel like I am clear and the other person is hearing me, right? So I can get wounded around a person not really getting me by going, oh, why don't you understand me? What's wrong with you? Versus, oh, I recognize that I might not be clear at this point in time in terms of what I'm sharing. I'll try to express it in a different way. Immediately, you're pulling your attention and your power back to yourself, and you're also allowing yourself to acknowledge the essential need that is coded in you, not in the other person. And by doing that, we're already one step into the future of being able to relate to human beings, not only relate to human beings, but relate to ourselves, where there's no judgment, it's just resonance. Okay? And this kind of this I don't know, again, like the words are missing for me right now, but this format, this way, this formula, there we go, there's the word formula, can actually help you look at your chart and say, okay, I have, like for me, let's just use my example, right? I have Capricorn ruling my 12th house. I look to the planetary ruler, which is Saturn, and this is all, I will teach you all of this in the actual workshop itself. But the planetary ruler is Saturn. So I know karmically that my Saturn has a lot to do with emotionally growing into an experience of authority, and what it means to take on all of that responsibility and take all of those risks and learn how to, show up in a way that's dedicated and determined, but also disciplined. But it's very easy for me to show up in a relationship and project into a relationship, why isn't that person doing it for me? Do you understand? So that's where my power gets lost. And we all have that. We all have a subconscious thing that we place into the relationship that we ask the other person to do for us, because it prevents us from feeling our own emotional material that's rooted in this here. So what this video is trying to do is it's trying to show you that we have an actual tool available to us right now that allows us to objectify not only our own personal difference in a relationship through this way, because everybody's meeting a relationship relative to their own needs for security, their own needs for safety, their own needs for the correct bargain, but also for us to be able to see that, oh, this is my need. I have a different need to you. Like somebody that has Venus and Leo as an example, your need for validation or appreciation or recognition is essential. You might have not have gotten that when you were growing up, and so therefore there's a woundedness that you carry inside of you of feeling that if somebody doesn't give you attention, then you need to create attention by either manipulating the situation or feeling as if nobody sees you and feeling all deeply disempowered in that. Or you can recognize, hey, I'm sorry that I said to you that you weren't listening to me and that there was something wrong with you. Really, it was me feeling ignored, and it's my need for recognition is very important. And maybe the next time that we have a conversation, it would be really, really appreciated if you were able to pay attention to what I was talking about, because, yeah, just that. It's like asking, and it's also acknowledging your own needs. It's about how to be able to express, and you can actually do that by understanding your own personal chart using this system. And that's what happened for me. When I came across this and I started interacting with it, I was like, why is this not in astrology? And I remember a video that I did quite a while ago, actually, that talks about this. I think it was almost like 4 years ago, where I talked about it, and it's like an hour and a half long. It's called Understanding Your Venus and Mars in Your Chart. And it has a lot of people like, wow, I really, really get it right now. So to me, this is gold. This is an amazing experience for all of us to be able to help ourselves. That's the key. How can you help yourself during this Venus retrograde period in being able to know what it is that is important for you and what was shut down for you, and how you can effectively communicate that in a way where you can see your own projection or the potential of the projection and bring it back to yourself and heal it. In other words, actually like stop the source from it being externalized. Okay? So in a sense, I really hope that you got something out of this today's conversation, because I know a lot of us are struggling a lot with this, all of a sudden this material coming to the surface, and we all have a different story. So this video series that I created, this workshop, it is designed specifically to teach you how relationship dynamics work through this, how to understand why our needs are so essential and what it is essential for our thriving, how we can see projections into our charts. In other words, how we can see how our chart can create projections, and how you can reformulate the way that you communicate when you are dealing with a woundedness or an essential need that wasn't met or you can't meet, to recognize that. So that is actually available on my website, and in the description below, if you go and click on the big link that says go to the website, check out this essential needs, it's available over there. And also, if I'm not mistaken, there is a little bar that's going to come up at the top over there that also says go to the Essential Needs Workshop. That is specifically designed to help you process this. And I also give examples as well as a PDF that you can use while you're working through this workshop to get it for yourself, so that you can take your chart and say, okay, I see that I've got Venus in my 6th house, and I also have Leo on my 2nd house. Okay, so I know that something that's important for me. And what's amazing about this, it's not that it's the astrology that it's doing it. It's the essence of this is, how can we take the energy and the tools available to us right now and actually use them in a way that benefits us, right? That's the inspiration for me behind this is, oh, hold on, there's this actual tool available, and it allows me to connect to myself. And from this moment onwards, I can connect to this in a way that consistently keeps on feeding back to me, right? A healthy way to meet myself, so that when I'm meeting others, I can actually meet another person in a way that is deeper, that is more nourishing, that is not shrouded in protection, because now you can actually know where your protection exists and you can begin to work with it. You can begin to go, okay, look, I see that there's a lot of woundedness around not feeling recognized. Oh, not surprised that my Venus is in Leo, or your Venus is in Virgo as an example. And you're feeling the sense of, why do I feel that there's this internal void inside of me of maybe I'm not good enough in relationships? Yeah, that's true, that there is a potential to feel that way. But you can allow yourself to actually reword that whole entire storyline in your head, so that you can let go of that and say, hey, this is where I want to grow in a relationship. I want to grow. Virgo is all about growth. So unconsciously, the shadow aspect of it, it says, I don't feel like I'm good enough. The empowered aspect is, oh, let's learn more about relationships, right? Let's experience a relationship in a growing way. So there's a whole entire PDF that's also comes with it that you use to literally locate how it works in your chart. And for us to heal this process, like to actually take advantage of this Venus retrograde period where the energy is literally facing it, right? The veil is gone there. So now we can see it and we can actually come out of this experience a lot better. So I hope that inspires you. I hope that that gets you motivated. And when it is available for yourself, like when you feel ready, it's on my site. It's available to everybody. I encourage you to do it when you have the time and space. And yeah. All right, my friends, thanks very much for listening and for your time. I appreciate it. Write in the comments below if you've got some questions. I'm happy to respond to them. This is all about empowerment. Okay? All right. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.